Okay, this first introductory video, some people will not need, but I'm going to make it available in case some people are using this, particularly that are not my students from outside of school, or if you've never come to my Regents review. And that is a quick 5-minute video on how to hack a Regents. So I'm going to break this down into 4 categories. One is understanding the test format. 2 is how are you going to set goals? 3 is changing your study strategies. And 4 is how are you going to plan out your studying and how long is it going to take? So, very quickly, the basic test format of a chemistry Regents, if you haven't looked at one yet, is that it is 50 multiple choice questions and 35 short answer questions. The topics are not together. The test just bounces all over the place. 1 minute you're doing atomic theory, the next minute you're doing nuclear chem, the next minute you're doing acids and bases. Even if you're working on short answer questions, a single group of part 2 questions where it says this passage applies to the next 4 questions, those 4 questions might be about totally different topics. So that can be difficult for students to figure out how they're going to actually get through the whole test. So the first thing I'm going to explain to you is how to use a conversion chart to set your goals and figure out what your target score goal should be. And then also, I'm going to show you how to focus on different things when you're trying to study for a large cumulative exam. This usually makes kids short circuit and they end up studying in ways that are really ineffective and very time consuming. So it's not that they don't study, it's that they spend a brutal amount of time studying in a way that's not actually going to work for them. So we're going to take a look at the New York State Regents exam. We're going to go straight there. The key to this entire process is using this website effectively. Okay. But I'm going to give you a quick rundown of everything that they give you. They give you everything. The state actually gives you everything that the teachers get when they score the exams. So you have the test and the answer booklet that you would have gotten when you were taking the test. You have 2 different kinds of scoring keys here. You have this one is the multiple choice, the PDF doc under scoring key, and the rating guide is the short answer. And then you also have something called a conversion chart. So that's what I want to look at you with you right now. This is how you set a target goal for how many questions you plan to get right when you walk in the door. Yes, everybody wants to get every single question right, but particularly if you didn't do as well as you would have liked this year, you're struggling, you're overwhelmed, you should not be attempting to do the entire Regents from start to finish, trying to get every single question right. What you should be targeting instead is a key number of questions in different topics that you want to get right because you're going to focus on just studying those topics. Those core points are going to get you a target score. So, say your target score was just passing. I recommend that you start with a core score of 52 points that you can get. 52 points translates, so your raw score is how many you actually got right. And then your scaled score is what your actual score would be on your report card. So if you're just aiming for passing, the minimum that you should be aiming for is to get 52 questions right on the test. That doesn't mean you're going to leave the rest of the test blank. It means you are going to focus on a certain core number of topics that you think you can get right to get that 52 points. And then anything else that you can make time for is just icing on the cake because any points you get beyond this is just going to keep raising your score. But you can't get lower than this because then you're not going to pass. So let's take a look at how you should schedule your study time. Okay, so most people do this wrong. And this is really what ends up causing you to not do well. It's that you tend to try to do too much. You sit for hours. You're not really sure what you're supposed to be doing, but you're staring at it for hours anyway. Um, it's much more effective if you study in small chunks and if you study by topic, by topic. And I'm going to give you a key so that you know how to find which questions are the topics you want to work on. Okay. So it's much more effective for you to study in small pieces every day It's going to get you more quality study time than if you try to cram 2 days before the test for 12 hours or try to stay up all night. Okay. So I worked it out for you just now. You have 6 days left before the test. That if I think you should do a minimum of two exams. That's 85 questions per test times two is 170. Divide that by 6 days. You have to do 28 questions a day to review. And I would recommend, obviously, you put in a little more time studying the topics for those questions, but you want to stay focused on what kinds of things are they asking you about in the test questions and not get bogged down in studying a topic for 3 hours and then not studying any of the other topics. Because you have to do a cumulative exam, which means you have to study a little bit of every single topic you've done this year. So you're going to focus on just the ones that you think you can get the points on. Okay, if you split that again into two sessions a day, like you don't sit down for 2 hours, you sit down for a half an hour early in the day and a half an hour later in the day. That would mean maybe two 15-minute sessions, two half-hour sessions. That's 14 questions a session. Or two different tests, just do that section on that topic. So the last thing I'm going to give you is I'm going to show you a topic review, and I'm going to link this in the description. I strongly, strongly recommend that you do not study just starting at the beginning of the test and going through. And the reason why is because what I said earlier, the questions are not in any kind of order. Okay, they just bounce all over the place. So if you try to do the test from start to finish every single time, you're going to be kind of just confused because you're going to have to keep switching topics. So I'm going to give you this. It's my topic review guide. And what it does is it breaks the test down by multiple choice and short answer into the different topics. And this will also give you an idea of how many points roughly each year was that topic worth. And you will see that there's a little bit of a pattern. It does vary from year to year, but there's definite topics that are going to get you big amounts of points. And I'm going to give this guide to you. This is for the last three regions, June 2024, January 2025, and August 2024. So this allows you to just say, I'm going to just review atomic atoms, bonding, and periodic table. So this means you're just going to do those questions that day that you're studying, right? So it's up to you how much time you plan to spend studying, but you should have a plan. You should study every day, and you should study in small chunks every day instead of trying to sit down and cram for hours and hours and hours, because you're actually just making your studying less effective when you do that. Right, and that's the end of this video. So if you are interested in continuing to review, the future videos will be broken down by topic. There may be other strategy videos, how to do part two questions, how to do multiple choice questions, and hopefully I can keep them under 10 minutes each so that my students don't kill me. All right, I hope we'll see you at the next video. Thanks so much for listening.